The desert sun was merciless, hanging like a white-hot coin in the sky. Marcus Steele Carter squinted against it as he adjusted the strap of his rifle and kept his eyes on the horizon. The air shimmered, the distant mountains bending like molten glass. He'd been deployed for nearly 8 months, and every day had blurred into the next. Dust, heat, patrols, the constant hum of helicopters overhead, the silence before gunfire. Marcus had become good at pushing things out of his mind. Comfort, rest, even memories of home. That was what a soldier had to do, compartmentalize. But no matter how deep he buried it, the image of the old farmhouse in his hometown always found its way back. The white paint peeling in the summer heat, the smell of his mother's bread cooling on the kitchen windowsill, the sound of his father splitting wood in the backyard. Those were his anchors, his reminders of why he served. When the radio crackled in his headset that afternoon, Marcus expected the usual orders. But the voice that came through wasn't military. It was familiar, rough-edged, and carried a weight Marcus hadn't heard in years. "Marcus, it's Sheriff Brooks." Marcus froze, his boots kicking up sand as he stopped in the middle of the patrol route. Sheriff Daniel Brooks had been the law in his small town since Marcus was a boy. He was steady, dependable, the kind of man who kept a town safe with nothing more than a badge, a shotgun, and a reputation for being unshakable. Hearing his voice on a military line was wrong. "Sheriff, how the hell, what's going on?" Marcus asked, his tone sharp, cautious. There was silence on the line for a long beat, broken only by static. When Brooks finally spoke, his voice was low and strained. "Marcus, a biker gang burned down your family's farmhouse." He hesitated, and Marcus could almost hear him swallow hard. "Your father and mother, they didn't make it." The world tilted. The scorching desert air suddenly felt ice cold. Marcus's vision blurred, and he clenched his jaw so hard it hurt. "No," Marcus said flatly, his voice cracking at the edges. "Say that again." "I'm sorry, son," Brooks whispered. His voice broke in a way Marcus had never heard before. "They didn't make it." The desert was gone. The soldiers around him faded into shadows. All Marcus could see was fire, curling smoke, his parents trapped inside, the old wooden farmhouse that had stood for generations. He imagined his father's strong hands pounding on the door, his mother screaming for help. His chest burned as though he'd inhaled the flames himself. For a long moment, he couldn't breathe, couldn't think. He just stood there, fists trembling at his sides, staring at nothing. "Who?" Marcus finally forced out, his throat raw. "Who did this?" Sheriff Brooks's reply came like a hammer blow. "The Iron Fang Gang. 30 of them. Mean sons of bitches. They've been terrorizing this town for months now." "Your parents, they were just in the way." Marcus closed his eyes, the weight of those words pressing down on him like a mountain. His parents, just in the way. "I'll be on the next flight," Marcus said through clenched teeth. "Marcus, listen to me," Brooks tried, his voice urgent. "These men aren't like the people you fought before. They don't follow rules. They don't fight fair. I need you to—" But Marcus had already pulled off his headset, his chest heaving. That evening, Marcus stood in front of his commanding officer, Captain Ramirez. The captain studied him silently, reading the pain etched in Marcus's face. "I heard," Ramirez said at last, his tone softer than Marcus had ever heard. "I'm sorry." Marcus nodded once, unable to trust his voice. "You've been granted 72 hours of compassionate leave," Ramirez continued. "That's all I can give you. After that, I need you back here. Understood? 72 hours. 3 days." Marcus's mind calculated without meaning to. 30 men in the Iron Fang. That gave him just over 2 hours per man. It was more than enough. "Understood," Marcus said, his voice low and cold. Ramirez leaned forward, locking eyes with him. "Do what you have to do." Marcus saluted, turned on his heel, and walked away. The flight home was long, silent, and suffocating. Marcus sat alone, his duffel bag at his feet, his military uniform drawing polite nods from strangers he didn't see. His mind was a battlefield of memories. He remembered his mother's soft hands brushing dirt from his scraped knees, the way she hummed as she cooked. He remembered his father's booming laugh when Marcus had first tried to lift an axe bigger than he was. He remembered the smell of rain-soaked soil after a storm. The creak of the farmhouse porch where he'd spent countless evenings. Now all of it was gone, stolen, burned. He clenched his fists until his knuckles turned white. His parents hadn't just been killed, they'd been erased. Their legacy reduced to ashes by men who thought themselves untouchable. Marcus whispered a promise to the quiet hum of the airplane cabin. "I'll make them pay." When the plane finally touched down, the sky was just beginning to turn gray with dawn. Marcus stepped off, duffel slung over his shoulder, his eyes shadowed and unblinking. Sheriff Brooks was waiting near the gate, hat in hand, looking older than Marcus remembered. The sheriff opened his mouth, but Marcus held up a hand. "Don't," he said. His voice was steady now, steel hard. "Just take me home." The drive was silent, the hum of the cruiser the only sound. Fields passed by outside, but Marcus barely saw them. His hometown felt smaller, quieter, strangled by something dark. When they finally pulled up to the Carter farmhouse, Marcus's chest tightened. The house he'd grown up in was nothing more than blackened wood and ash. The chimney stood like a broken monument, surrounded by the smell of smoke that still lingered in the air. Marcus stepped out of the car, his boots crunching on scorched earth. He walked slowly, almost reverently, to where the front porch had once been. He crouched down, letting the charred soil sift through his fingers. It stained his skin black. Sheriff Brooks stood behind him, hat clutched against his chest. "They didn't suffer long, Marcus," he said quietly, though even he didn't seem to believe the words. Marcus didn't reply. He just stared at the ruins until his vision blurred again. When he finally spoke, his voice was a whisper. 30 men. 72 hours. That gives me over 2 hours per man. He rose to his feet, his eyes like steel. Sheriff Brooks swallowed. "Son, what are you planning?" Marcus turned, his expression cold and merciless. "Justice?" The sheriff opened his mouth to argue, but the look in Marcus's eyes stopped him. It wasn't the look of the boy he once knew. It was the look of a soldier who had already accepted the cost of what he was about to do. The sheriff nodded slowly, though the weight of it seemed to crush him. "Then God help us all." Marcus stood among the ashes of his past, the fire already burning inside him. 72 hours, 30 men. It was more than enough.